we've had these marvelous experiences, and I come up here to speak, and there's a feather right here, and I don't know whether I move it if I will be intruding on sacred space, sacred space or not, but it's beautiful. So there it is. Speaking of hope, moving from despair to hope, maybe this particular session may have been better called Simply Hope. We have two young women who have an amazing resume. Margaret, are you just going into being a senior? Mm-hmm. So she's still a junior. And when I read what she's accomplished, it's like, wow. And Leah is sophomore? Sophomore. And whoa, and when you hear this, it's like, I'd be proud to have this resume. So it's something. So Margaret is going to speak first. And she is a senior at the Sharon Academy, which I have visited, and it is an amazing school that between the space of adult and education and child is just filled with care and love, and that is their motivation and how they teach. So we'll see some of Sharon Academy in Margaret. So that. And her senior project will be focused on the climate changes on Vermont's biodiversity, which she will promise to keep up on the web page of this conference. Wow, and she quick, she had no idea I was going to say that. See, wouldn't that be great if she did her project on our web page of Vermont's biodiversity and climate change? Beautiful, thank you. Her junior exhibition title is called Nature, the Best Fuel for a Child's Soul, describing the health benefits of outdoor play, adults take notice, and experiences for children. Now this is one idea that caught me. Margaret's other school research papers. And I thought that, when I was a junior in high school, I would have had to look up what a research paper is. Her other research papers. And presentations included, help me if I don't get this right, Wangari Maatai, Rachel Carson, and oil drilling in the rainforest of Ecuador. I was wrestling and playing football when I was in high school. No clue. Now here's another one. Margaret was selected to join Inconvenient Youth. How can you just let that go? I mean, Inconvenient Youth. I was an inconvenient youth. So I didn't have to join anything. I had to join Inconvenient Youth. A youth project of Vice President Al Gore's Climate Reality Project to give public presentations about climate change. Welcome. Margaret hopes to inspire others to be the change they wish to see in the world. We don't watch protesters and wish they do well. We become the protesters and we do well. And help preserve the planet for the current and future generations. I give you Margaret.
All right, can you guys all hear me? Is that good? Yeah. Awesome. Okay. Every year of my life has been one of the hottest years on record, and there is nothing I can do about that. It doesn't matter if I do everything I'm supposed to do, study as hard as I can, recycle, turn out the lights, take shorter showers, or write to my representatives. I have simply inherited a warmer world. I have seen this evidence. Right now, my family has an exchange student from Kenya whose home is on the shores of Lake Victoria in Kenya, and he says that the lake is drying up and that rain has not fallen for months there. So what are we doing? I also witnessed Hurricane Irene, and I will never forget walking with my family down to the Nearby Brook during the storm and hearing the boulders tumble like thunder rolling downstream, striking whatever was in their path. Irene did not affect my home, but for the next week I saw devastation like no other as I helped families in my town clean up their homes. Basements full of muck, a smell I will never forget. I saw people reluctant to pull soggy, wet carpet out of their homes. They wanted to stay. They didn't want to face reality. Climate change is ever bleak, but I have hope and I always will. I am willing, more than willing, to help solve the problem of climate change. Well, maybe solve is too drastic of a word, since at the rate things are going and progressing now, we simply need to get ourselves on our way to a more sustainable world so that the next generation even has a chance of happiness. So why am I so optimistic? The honest truth is that young children give me hope. Their spontaneous energy makes me appreciate life and that I'm alive. Being alive in of itself is a gift, so why not celebrate that? Why not share in the joy of a child? Why not be curious? Why not run outside chasing a butterfly in bare feet? This summer, I worked in the town of Sharon at the One Planet Summer program. I spent hours with children outside. I tried my best to leave an impression on them that being outside and appreciating the outdoors will lead to the best happiness ever. I think I got through to some of them, but the main point is that if you are with a child, take them outside. Let them explore so they don't fall victim to the age of electronics. I am a senior in high school, and in my future, I want to study environmental science and elementary education. I want to continue helping children appreciate and save this wonderful world. So how did I begin to care? 5 years ago, my family and I moved from Missouri. In Missouri, we were the only family in our neighborhood who had a backyard vegetable garden, had a compost bin, and drove hybrid vehicles. When my brother and I asked our neighbors where carrots come from, they said the supermarket. They had no clue that carrots come from the ground. That is when I first realized how lucky I was to have a garden and be connected with my food sources. I also realized how disconnected everyone else was from what they eat. This confused me. While I lived in Missouri, my mother became a trained climate reality project presenter with Al Gore's organization and began giving presentations about climate change. She even tried to show inconvenient truth at our church, but out of a congregation of 1,500 people, 3 people came. Only 3. After I saw an inconvenient truth, I became more aware and joined the fight with my mother and became a trained presenter a few years later. I was trained in Nashville, and I was amazed to be standing in a building that was flooded with a so-called 500-year flood just weeks before the training occurred. Another blatant piece of evidence. Since my training in 2010, I have given a few presentations with my mother, and I have also organized an I Matter march. I Matter is a campaign that was started by another youth named Alec Lors that works to inform children and teens that they matter and that they have a right to a healthy planet and a bright future. I held the I Matter march in South Royalton, Vermont, and the turnout was small. But I was inspired by the people who were there because they deeply cared about climate change as I do, and they gave me the energy to continue fighting. Many of my recent school projects have also focused on climate change, and I have learned a lot and gained more energy for this fight by doing them. A project I did 2 years ago focused on the oil industry in Ecuador and how it is harming the unique rainforest there, leaving a trail of sludge and extreme rainforest destruction. Why are we killing beautiful treasures? What justification is there to do so? There is no justification to do so in my mind, but apparently some people don't understand that, which is why education is a great tool to inform every one of the world problems. Just today, I learned 2 things about Ecuador. For the first time in 35 years, a new carnivore species has been found in the Andean cloud forests of Ecuador and Colombia. This raccoon-sized mammal is called the olanguito and leaps through the treetops at night. But sadly, this newly discovered creature is threatened. Ecuador's President Correa has just announced that he has abandoned a plan to have wealthy countries pay Ecuador not to drill oil in the rainforest, a program established with the UN, but that did not receive the requested financial support. President Correa has permitted more drilling in the Yasuni Province Preserve in the rainforest, one of the most biodiverse areas on Earth. This is tragic. When I was a junior in high school, I did a presentation and paper titled, "Nature, the Best Fuel for a Child's Soul." I discussed the fact that many children today are losing touch with nature, not realizing that nature is the most important motivator for them. I found out that children involved and connected with nature are stronger students, have more confidence, have a lower prevalence of ADHD, and have higher levels of vitamin D. The list goes on. It's really, really incredible. But the main point is that children need to spend time outside from a young age, and that it will help them teach others the beauty and wonder of our Earth. This past semester of school, I had the opportunity to be an exchange student in Ecuador for 5 months. I had an amazing time, and I loved learning the Spanish language. However, several things amazed me about my experience. It was normal for people to throw trash out of the windows of their cars. I lived in the city of Riobamba in the mountains, about 9,000 feet up, and the trash littered all the city streets. The first time one of my host family members threw trash out the window, I said, "What are you doing? Why are you doing that?" And afterwards, I explained to them, I said that it's important to throw trash in the trash can so that you protect animals and nature and all of God's creation. And I think I got through to them a little because when we went on later trips in the car, they would give me all the trash and then I would just throw it away afterwards. Another thing that amazingly did not exist in Ecuador was recycling. The only time I saw any kind of recycling was 2 days when we had plastic bottle recycling at school. The rest of the potential recycling went to waste. Why? What are we doing? Ecuador is a beautiful country that includes the Andes Mountains, the Amazon rainforest, and the Galapagos Islands. I had a chance to visit most of those locations, and I have no clue why we wouldn't want to save them. I had an Ecuadorian tour guide on my boat trip through the Galapagos Islands, and I asked him how the islands are being affected by climate change, and he said climate change is affecting everything. It is affecting animal population, ocean temperature, and the length of the wet and dry seasons. I would go back to the Galapagos any chance I get to witness the unique beauty. The beauty of the iguanas, penguins, seals, sea lions, turtles, blue-footed boobies, and all the other animals on the island is second to none. I was lucky enough to see the only of 30 species of cormorants that can't fly. I want us to conserve places like Vermont and the Galapagos Islands, and I need everyone's help to do that. This summer, during my job with the summer day camp, the One Planet program, I also had the chance to give a presentation about my Ecuador trip to the children. This was by far my favorite day, and my favorite of the 3 children's groups that I worked with and got to talk to were the youngest children between the ages of 6 and 8. Those kids listened and looked at the pictures of the animals from the Galapagos Islands with complete fascination. They asked question after question, and we got to talking about why oil drilling in Ecuador is harming the rainforest, and I asked the children if they wanted that to happen. And they unanimously said no, and continue to explain that they felt protecting the earth was important. I was overjoyed to hear that. I only hope that we continue to pass that message on to children now and in the future. At the same time, though, I was thinking, if children understand the importance of conserving the earth, why don't adults who are in charge of the big corporations right now? Don't they see that their coal-fired power plant is causing cancer and respiratory problems in nearby residents, or what have you? This year, for my senior project, I am going to research climate change effects in Vermont and what is going to happen to this state in a few years due to climate change. I am excited for this project and more than hopeful that it will teach me another way I can help create a better future. My parents have taken me outside since I was little, and I give them a lot of credit for my love of nature and my appreciation of it. I live, fight, and continue to hope for peace because I see in nature a beauty incomparable to anything. After all, it's God's creation, and He commanded that we take care of the earth. He also challenged us to love our neighbors as ourselves, which is something we have failed greatly at in recent years. Seeing oceans rise and flood island nations and not doing something to stop the problem is not kind to our neighbors. We could at least try to reduce our emissions so that others in third world countries who are more or less aren't causing climate change might have a better chance of survival. So I ask all of you to close your eyes for a minute and imagine your favorite place on earth. Whether that be your backyard, a mountaintop, or a beach, it doesn't matter to me. Simply picture that place in your mind and imagine taking a child's hand and showing them that place. What would your first words be to them? How would you explain the importance of nature and inform them that we are destroying it at the same time? Continue with this child. Walk, explore, let them imagine and share it with you. But at the end of your moment with the child, ask them what they learned. Ask them if they care about the earth, and hope the answer is yes. Open your eyes and look to the children in this room with grace. Thank them with your eyes. Thank them for accepting the challenge of fighting climate change. Tell them sorry and pat yourselves on the back for the work you have done to make our future that much brighter. All of us are connected to the earth. It sustains us, and without the earth we die, and the children die with us. One person I greatly admire is Gandhi, and there is one thing he said which drives me forward. He urges us to be the change you wish to see in the world. I am driven by this statement because I want to be able to look children in the eye who are younger than I and tell them that they do have a chance, that their life is not doomed. I want to leave you all with one last image that encompasses the beauty and connection between all living things in nature. Night had fallen. I was on the deck of the boat with 16 others floating through the paradise of the Galapagos Islands. The night was breezy, and all of us sat talking about anything and everything. One of the last things we did was lie on our stomachs and watch the stars. I learned from our park guide about constellations in South America and saw the Southern Cross for the first time. I lay there, entranced at the sky, thinking that humans have made such an impact, and yet we are so small, just one little dot in millions. And then I realized that that exact thought is our destruction and our revival. Because if we can do so little and make so much change for the worse, we can all do the same for the better. That is my challenge to all of you. Thank you.
Catch back up to myself. Last year in Florida, we put on a conference where we integrated the thoughts of the globalization of addiction, corporate personhood, and rights of nature, and brought in 3 speakers, national speakers on those issues. And we brought several, maybe 14 local people representing different organizations. And that's where I met Leah. She came and she was on that panel to participate in that conference. And when I saw her, I thought, we need to hear more from her. And then when I came here and we talked about doing this conference, I went, yes, see how it works? We meet there and we can do it here. So what a moment of grace that was for me. I also noticed something about Leah, and when I think about these issues in the youth, I'm always thinking very seriously, we got to do this. And we were down there on the steering committee filming, so we're very important, right? We're going to be filmed and have our say, and so we're trying to contain that, that energy and give the messages out to motivate the troops. And the next thing I know, here comes Leah jumping in the picture, smiling, and doing all this kind of stuff. And my first thought was, oh no. Then I thought, well, she's 15. That's what we do when we're 15. So I am very grateful her childhood is not gone. And that's our prayer here, listening to these 2 young women, that childhood just continues on generation after generation. Leah informed me when I first got her bio off the web, it said Leodora is a 14-year-old, and she said, stop. I'm 15 and a half. So there it is. She's a freshman at Florida Atlantic University High School and a graduate of the Religious Education Program at the Unitarian Universalist Fellowship of Boca Raton. She is concerned about the current and future effects of global climate change, being a citizen that lives right next to the ocean, witnessing the effect of climate change. Last year, she helped the religious education classes at the Unitarian Universalist Fellowship of Boca Raton create the Southeast Florida Sea Level Awareness Poll Project, which we will hear more about. Leah is a member, as well as Margaret, of I Matter Youth Council, which is working in coalition to others. And here's where we can help Leah. And what I noticed when Margaret was speaking about the litter, being a counselor, I'm going, who's parenting who? And then, isn't that what little children do to parents? They give them their trash for the parents to throw it out. And I just thought, maybe we need to be parented because of our behavior. And so maybe we need to help Leah and Margaret. We need to help Leah because she's putting pressure on President Obama to convene a national climate summit next spring. Maybe we need to help the children do some of this work. She will also become a member of the South Florida Climate Action Partners Speakers Bureau this year. Hello. To educate citizens about the Southeast Florida Regional Climate Change Action Plan. Leah.
How can I possibly live up to that summary? What is it to be a youth activist? Ever since I moved to Florida when I was 8, I've been involved with social justice through my Unitarian Universalist Fellowship. And most of the credit should go to my mom. I've learned most of my things that I use in social justice from her. I've sorted ballots, counted votes, left those nagging messages and calls on your phone that you get that remind you to go to that event that you forgot to write down in your calendar. And I once counted tracking tickets that we collected at the door to see how many people attended an event in a local driver's ed classroom of a high school. I've learned the tricks of the trade from the social justice programs that my Unitarian Universalist Fellowship, my mother, and I've been involved with. The only exception being social media. It still eludes me. I remember the first time I advocated for climate change, right down to the fleeting thoughts of the grounds following me home, similar to what I'm feeling right now. My palms were sweating. I was hoping that the clock would tick slower so I wouldn't have to stand up, even though I knew I would eventually. I can vaguely remember tapping the melody of a Katy Perry song because I was trying to get all of the fleeting thoughts out of my mind. And the whole time I stood up, I thought I was speaking Chinese. To be quite honest, if you told me I was going to be speaking willingly, I'd probably be very mortified right now. Since then, I've gotten considerably better at public speaking and been to enough events advocating for social justice issues that they're now second nature. I could explain to you the slap pole in my sleep. I've since become involved with advocating for my local adaptation plan in Florida, which is the Regional Climate Action Plan, and presented the slap pole enough times that I can't count them anymore. Though the service hours are probably documented somewhere, I don't know exactly where. I've also joined the I Matter Youth Council, and this coming year we'll be filing a petition on behalf of a small group of youth that the atmosphere is of public trust. To be honest, when I speak with people, they are amazed at what I've accomplished in so few years. It's been 2 years since I've gotten involved with climate change and public policy advocacy, and whatever you would want to call it. But really, it's I who is amazed that I've gotten so far in so little time and gotten to know such great public figures. The climate change activism that I have been involved with is mostly local, within Florida and within certain counties, but just has recently turned national when I joined the I Matter Youth Council. But first, I'm going to start with the first climate change project that I worked on. Well, my mom, my fellowship, and I created it, and it was created with collaboration with the youth at my church. And we made the SLAP pole, or the Sea Level Awareness Pole. To be more exact, we made 4. Now, the SLAP pole is a 4-sided vinyl pole that is shaped like this. Now, there are 2 sides opposite from each other that have, sorry, let's turn a page, that represent years 2050 and 2100. They have icons of hospitals, regular buildings, things that you need, schools, banks, and all of the tax money that will be used locally. And it shows what monetary damage and what will be lost from sea level rise, which is the first impending threat from climate change to Florida. There's a 3rd side which tells the story of global warming and icons, of perspective of a person and sea level. And for those of you who have seen the I Matter icon, it's a person punching their fist in the air. That's what represents the sea level rise. And it's actually this that led me to the I Matter Youth Council. And the 4th side is links of where the pole has been featured and where I've presented it. Now, it doesn't take a genius to know that I spent a lot of time presenting it. But just imagine, all of them are generally stickers, and I haven't looked at a sticker the right way in years. But we have had some very quality bonding time, the SLAP pole and I. My mother and I resemble somewhat of a clown car, taking the 6-foot-long pole with waves on the top out of our car, which looks 5 feet long. And if we ever really get the sudden urge to join the circus, we have the clown car act down pat. What many people don't know is that the SLAP pole is what linked me to all of my other chapters of advocacy in my life. I got involved with the Regional Climate Action Plan, which is my local adaptation plan, and we're trying to get it ratified in one of our counties. It's all ratified in the other counties, but constant support helps. It outlines the current issues and future issues that will arise in Florida, sea level rise and what will be affected from such things. And it sums up how to adapt to these issues and affect our footprint. In short, it involves maintaining maintaining natural shorelines, conserving a reasonable energy consumption, preserving and adapting infrastructure, and most importantly, reducing carbon emissions. Though this plan is already linked to preserve water supply in select counties, it may very well preserve Florida's water supply, which will be compromised by the time I'm 45, which is in 30 years. That's the estimated projections, and most likely will be true, if not more expedited. After I got involved with this plan, I joined the I Matter Youth Council and have in turn begun a new chapter in my life. I have for a few months now been involved with the I Matter Youth Council, and in turn, I will be involved with public trust lawsuits. Now, I'm the main plaintiff in a petition to the Florida Department of Environmental Protection. Wow, that's a mouthful. For a rule to regulate carbon emissions in Florida on behalf of the children in Florida. Now, the reason why these are all known as lawsuits is because, well, let's be honest, most petitions are denied. But if this petition is denied, and if we also get collaboration, whatever happens, if we go to court, I will most likely testify like the rest of the children who are filing this petition with me. This court case is a transition in my life and will most likely determine where I go in my life. And I would love to see what social justice projects I get involved after with it. That's in this upcoming school year. So many people ask me what it means to be a youth activist. Now, it may mean sacrificing a few weekends, studying a little harder between classes because I have to go present that PowerPoint or go to that climate summit. But it means that I'm reliant for one more year on my supportive parents helping me lug whatever new innovative tool I have for presenting what's happening. But I sit in the same seats as you do and look up to the same leaders who've done amazing things. Yes, there are a few moments when I feel like my accomplishments pale in comparison. But at the end of the day, there's also the moment where you know you're not alone. Sometimes I feel like I pale in comparison to all of you, people who are doing amazing things as well. But hasn't everyone felt that way at some point? I haven't forgotten the butterflies in my stomach the first day I spoke about the slap hole, or the lack of nervousness when I set up to present again and again and again. Believe me, I've presented it a lot of times. I'm a youth activist because the date I was born says that I'm 15. But I'm here because I've asked myself a question that all of you have at some point. If not me, then who else? So why are you an activist? And if not, then why not? Thank you.
Is that time? I'm sorry, that's our time, but wisdom. Thank you.
May I just say, I hope you were part of the hope aspect and not the destruction.
Yeah.
Because that's the question I was most often asked yesterday. Oh, are you part of hope or destruction? Hope, most likely. Yep, easy.